Hola, welcome to our Spanish counting lesson. Today, we'll learn how to count from 1 to 100 in Spanish with easy pronunciation and English translations. Perfect for beginners and anyone wanting to improve their Spanish skills. Let's dive in and start counting. In English, we say 1. In Spanish, we say uno. In English, we say 2. In Spanish, we say dos. In English, we say 3. In Spanish, we say tres. In English, we say 4. In Spanish, we say cuatro. In English, we say 5. In Spanish, we say cinco. In English, we say 6. In Spanish, we say seis. In English, we say 7. In Spanish, we say siete. In English, we say 8. In Spanish, we say ocho. In English, we say 9. In Spanish, we say nueve. In English, we say 10. In Spanish, we say diez. In English, we say 11. In Spanish, we say once. In English, we say 12. In Spanish, we say dos. In English, we say 13. In Spanish, we say tres. In English, we say 14. In Spanish, we say catorce. In English, we say 15. In Spanish, we say quince. In English, we say 16. In Spanish, we say dieciséis. In English, we say 17. In Spanish, we say diecisiete. In English, we say 18. In Spanish, we say dieciocho. In English, we say 19. In Spanish, we say diecinueve. In English, we say 20. In Spanish, we say veinte. In English, we say 21. In Spanish, we say veintiuno. In English, we say 22. In Spanish, we say veintidós. In English, we say 23. In Spanish, we say veintitrés. In English, we say 24. In Spanish, we say veinticuatro. In English, we say 25. In Spanish, we say veinticinco. In English, we say 26. In Spanish, we say veintiséis. In English, we say 27. In Spanish, we say veintisiete. In English, we say 28. In Spanish, we say veintiocho. In English, we say 29. In Spanish, we say veintinueve. In English, we say 30. In Spanish, we say treinta. In English, we say 31. In Spanish, we say 31. In English, we say 32. In Spanish, we say 32. In English, we say 33. In Spanish, we say 33. In English, we say 34. In Spanish, we say 34. In English, we say 35. In Spanish, we say 35. In English, we say 36. In Spanish, we say 36. In English, we say 37. In Spanish, we say 37. In English, we say 38. In Spanish, we say 38. In English, we say 39. In Spanish, we say 39. In English, we say 40. In Spanish, we say 40. In English, we say 41. In Spanish, we say 41. In English, we say 42. In Spanish, we say 42. In English, we say 43. In Spanish, we say 43. In English, we say 44. In Spanish, we say 44. In English, we say 45. In Spanish, we say 45. In English, we say 46. In Spanish, we say 46. In English, we say 47. In Spanish, we say 47. In English, we say 48. In Spanish, we say 48. In English, we say 49. In Spanish, we say 49. In English, we say 50. In Spanish, we say 50. In English, we say 51. In Spanish, we say 51. In English, we say 52. In Spanish, we say 52. In English, we say 53. In Spanish, we say 53. In English, we say 54. In Spanish, we say 54. In English, we say 55. In Spanish, we say 55. In English, we say 56. In Spanish, we say 56. In English, we say 57. In Spanish, we say 57. In English, we say 58. In Spanish, we say 58. In English, we say 59. In Spanish, we say 59. In English, we say 60. In Spanish, we say 60. In English, we say 61. In Spanish, we say 61. In English, we say 62. In Spanish, we say 62. In English, we say 63. In Spanish, we say 63. In English, we say 64. In Spanish, we say 64. In English, we say 65. In Spanish, we say 65. In English, we say 66. In Spanish, we say 66. In English, we say 67. In Spanish, we say 67. In English, we say 68. In Spanish, we say 68. In English, we say 69. In Spanish, we say 69. In English, we say 70. In Spanish, we say 70. In English, we say 71. In Spanish, we say 71. In English, we say 72. In Spanish, we say 72. In English, we say 73. In Spanish, we say 73. In English, we say 74. In Spanish, we say 74. In English, we say 75. In Spanish, we say 75. In English, we say 76. In Spanish, we say 76. In English, we say 77. In Spanish, we say 77. In English, we say 78. In Spanish, we say 78. In English, we say 79. In Spanish, we say 79. In English, we say 80. In Spanish, we say 80. In English, we say 81. In Spanish, we say 81. In English, we say 82. In Spanish, we say 82. In English, we say 83. In Spanish, we say 83. In English, we say 84. In Spanish, we say 84. In English, we say 85. In Spanish, we say 85. In English, we say 86. In Spanish, we say 86. In English, we say 87. In Spanish, we say 87. In English, we say 88. In Spanish, we say 88. In English, we say 89. In Spanish, we say 89. In English, we say 90. In Spanish, we say 90. In English, we say 91. In Spanish, we say 91. In English, we say 92. In Spanish, we say 92. In English, we say 93. In Spanish, we say 93. In English, we say 94. In Spanish, we say 94. In English, we say 95. In Spanish, we say 95. In English, we say 96. In Spanish, we say 96. In English, we say 97. In Spanish, we say 97. In English, we say 98. In Spanish, we say 98. In English, we say 99. In Spanish, we say 99. In English, we say 100. In Spanish, we say 100. Excelente! You've just learned to count from 1 to 100 in Spanish. Keep practicing every day, and soon you'll feel confident using these numbers in real life. If you enjoyed this lesson, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more Spanish learning videos. Gracias y hasta luego.